this morning. Well, it's out with the old and in with the new, or do you prefer to squeeze every possible use out of your belongings before they get thrown onto the trash heap? We were talking to Annie a little while ago, weren't we, who was saying that actually she darns the darns in her socks. But according to the Environment Secretary, Michael Gove, we're throwing away far too much potentially useful stuff, and he's aiming to promote a reuse revolution as part of the government's waste strategy due to be published in the next few weeks. The main attraction so far has been on recycling, but experts say reusing goods saves more energy and materials than recycling them. Well, joining me now is Trewin, Restorick, the CEO of environmental charity Hubbub. And it's good to talk to you this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Because we've just been talking actually about companies that people go and buy, a new washing machine from, and they pay for it on hire purchase at 70%, sometimes upwards of 70% more than the item is worth. So if we start to reuse things, that will help out people who need to go and do that, surely.
Yeah, I think Michael Gove is absolutely right on this one. We had a real wake-up call this year from the world scientists saying we've got to do some drastic things to reduce the amount of carbon we're pumping out into the air, and sort of the way we consume is sort of really hitting the earth at the moment. So we've all got to think about how can we reduce what we buy in the first instance, and then yes, reuse. And I think we're going to see more and more companies coming along that do produce sort of services rather than goods, and that we, instead of buying stuff, we can perhaps rent it or get it in a different way and get a new and sort of find a new way of buying things, really.
The thing is, though, that it used to be, and you hear this all the time, certainly let's take the washing machine, the humble washing machine, that our parents would buy a washing machine and it would last 50 years, 40 years. They were still using the same old stuff. But you've got a situation now where you buy something and it seems to have built-in obsolescence, that it doesn't last more than 5 years before you've got to buy a new one. So it's not just us, is it? It's the manufacturers that have got to think long-term rather than short-term profit.
Exactly. I mean, and the classic example, of course, is a mobile phone, which has built-in obsolescence in it. And, when you buy a new phone, then your old charger doesn't fit. And there are so many things that companies are doing in the way they design stuff, which actually are leading to this throwaway society. And we do fundamentally need to change things so that we value stuff more, but companies make it easier for us to keep stuff for longer. And if something goes wrong,
have it fixed.
Fix it rather than having to chuck the whole thing away and buy another one, because it's impossible to get a part for whatever.
Well, you can't. I mean, everything you buy is a sealed unit now. I mean, you can't. There's no way into most of the things, like floor mops, steamer floor mops. I've gone through about 4, and I would have had them repaired, but I've had to go and buy a new one. Yes,
and as you said earlier, I mean, we've been sort of concentrating a lot on the topic of recycling.
Yeah.
But it is this sort of how do we challenge this throwaway society that we've created, and it is companies that have a major role to play.
But they're not going to, are they? I mean, honestly, Trewin, we're just talking there about, let's say, the new phones. They want us to buy a new charger. They want us to want the new phone. They, like you said, they build in obsolescence. They build in a lifespan to these things so that the battery starts to die. So we've got no choice but to consume. But that's what they want. They're in it to make profit. They're not in it to save the planet.
Exactly. I mean, and they're all addicted to faster and faster consumption. And, you just have to look at clothing as well. I mean, we're now in this cycle of, we don't have clothing seasons anymore. Everything's new. Everybody wants it immediately. But it never lasts, and the clothing we buy, only a tiny percent is recycled. So we're on this sort of treadmill of buying and buying and buying. And, it's causing debt. It's causing environmental destruction. But for the companies, as you said, it's the only model they've got at the moment.
It's the only one they've got. But then, like I was saying to a guest that I was speaking to earlier about debt, we can look to the companies and we can blame the companies, and we've certainly done that between us this morning. But there is this sort of naked consumerism. We're voracious in our consuming stuff. We won't even save for it. We want it now. We don't want to wait. We want it now. We have to have it now. And so we get it now, however we get it. And then we're bored of it. And then we move on. So how do we adjust us?
Well, I think it's really interesting, the whole debate around plastics at the moment. Everybody's sort of seen a lot of people have seen Blue Planet, but I've got very concerned about, the fact that we're putting plastics into our oceans. And everybody sends off a tweet or, shouts about it on social media. But I think we all need to sort of spare a few moments and reflect on, it is our lifestyle, it is our consumption patterns that are helping to drive that. So we have to make a choice, do you want that sort of instant happiness, which you probably forget about a week later, and that's causing damage to the wider world, or actually do we want to pass on a better world to our children, which means that we just have to rethink about how we consume things.
It's so difficult. I was talking to somebody yesterday about records and vinyl and going out and, saving your pocket money and going out at the end of the week and wanting a single, buying that single, the joy of doing that and then bringing it home and then playing it 4,000 times to the annoyance of your siblings. There was a joy in that waiting. There was pleasure in that. But that is not something that my son's grown up with. It's not something that anybody sort of under the age of, 45 has even touched.
Yes, and so, but culture changes very fast, doesn't it? I mean, the change has been
very fast,
very, very rapid. So, I think we need sort of conversations like this across all of society to think, what is it? What are we? What does make us happy, and what do we want to pass on to our children in terms of the world around us?
Yeah, I feel quite sad that excitement to get something has gone, really. And I hope it comes back. Listen, it's been a pleasure talking to you this morning. Be good to do it again. Trewin, Restorick, the CEO of environmental charity Hubbub.